Hi guys, so before I get started with part 2 of my Konad FAQ, I wanted to talk just a little bit again about the technique or how you actually stamp on your own nails. I talked about it a little bit in part 1 and I'm going to try not to repeat too much of the same information between the different parts. But I just wanted to reiterate that whatever is most comfortable for you and works best for you is what's going to get you the best results. Some people are going to prefer to have their hand flat on the table and have that support and basically stamp directly on the tabletop. How I usually do it is after getting the design on the stamper, I'll kind of curl my hand toward myself and then stamp it this way so that it's, you basically can watch the design almost go onto your nail. Now, I'm not confident that I'm going to be able to get a camera angle so that I can actually stamp that way during this little FAQ, but just so you know, that's how I do it. If you're comfortable doing it another way, go ahead and do it that way. The main thing is going to be practice. There's no other real secret to Konad. I'm going to share my tips, but the biggest tip is practice. If you're about done with a manicure and about to take it off, go ahead and do some practice stamping. If it turns out like crap, that's fine because you're going to take it off anyway. It's all about just getting used to the process and getting used to how it goes onto your nail. So I hope that you guys enjoy this. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to leave a comment and stay tuned. Alright guys, so before you get started, I always recommend to just get your supplies ready so everything is right to hand and you don't have to go searching for anything. Here I have just a small dish of nail polish remover, and that's just going to be to clean off your stamper and the scraper if necessary and the image plate. I'm just going to scoot that off to the side here. Of course, this is the image plate, and for this demonstration I'm going to be using M59. Here we have the scraper, the stamper, and I always like to have a few Q-tips on hand just because that's what I like to clean my plates with. My base color here, this nice blue, is Ulta Into Astronomy. And if you're working on a fresh manicure, you want to make sure to let everything dry completely, or when you go to stamp on your nails, you can, the pressure will smudge or mess up your manicure. If you have been wearing your polish for a couple days, I recommend just make sure that it's really clean. Even if you wash your hands, there can be like soap residue, so I recommend just a quick swipe with like some alcohol or some vinegar. So the first thing I want to talk briefly about is the polish. I get a lot of questions on whether the Konad special polish is really necessary, so I'm going to just show you guys the difference between a few different ones. Here I have the white Konad special polish. This is Wet n Wild French tip, and that's kind of my go-to alternative. And I'm just going to show you on my nails the difference. They are slightly different, but not much. I'm just going to clean this plate off because it's been in my drawer just to make sure it's clean, and just clean off the stamper to make sure there's no little fuzzies or anything weird on there. So I'm going to cover the design with some white polish. I'm going to go ahead and scrape off the excess polish, get it onto the stamper, and then roll it onto my nail like that. And that is the white Konad special polish. If you have any residue left on your stamper, if you guys can see just a little faint bit there, just go ahead and clean it off with a Q-tip. I also recommend cleaning the image plate in between each one. That's not required, but I just feel like it helps you get a cleaner, sharper transfer if you're working with a clean one rather than one with polish residue in there. Now I'm going to go with the Wet n Wild white. I'm going to scrape it off, get it on the stamper, And I'm just going to go on that same nail. And there you can see them right next to each other. And you can see, I mean, very, very faint, slight difference. The Konad is maybe a bit whiter, a bit more opaque, but overall, the Wet n Wild is a perfectly fine substitute, especially since Wet n Wild is usually about 99 cents, and the special polish is usually like $5 or $6 a bottle. And then just for one more comparison, here I have China Glaze White on White, and I just kind of grabbed this out of my drawer. It's been a while since I tested it, but I know China Glaze is popular, so a lot of you guys might have this one. Scrape it off, get it on the stamper, and stamp it onto my nail. Now that one you can see, you can still see the design, but it's nowhere near as bright of a white as the other two. You know, it really comes out looking kind of dark blue or light blue over this dark blue base color. And that's another thing. You may find a color that works with certain base colors and not so much with others. When you're working with a really dark base color, you need to have a stamping polish that's very pigmented. So I kind of would not recommend the China Glaze, you know, especially since that's more expensive than the Wet n Wild too. Just go with the Wet n Wild. And for the black, I also recommend Wet n Wild. Black Cream works almost just as good as the Konad Black. And I just feel like that's a little bit too dark to show on camera with this dark blue base color, so I'm not going to do a demonstration of that. But what you want to look for when you're trying to find other polishes to work with Konad are colors that are opaque in one coat or have a very, you know, like pigmented formula. Holographic colors tend to work really well. This is China Glaze OMG, and I'm just going to show you guys with that. And I just thought I'd use these little snowflake designs since it is winter and coming up on Christmas. You know, just a fun design to show you guys with. And I'm not sure how well that'll come across on camera, but it works really well. You get a surprising amount of the holographic finish coming across in the design, and even more so, in fact, maybe I'll just show you guys, like with this bow. You know, some designs are going to have a lot of fine details like the snowflakes. Some of them are going to have more big blocks of color like this bow. So when you get one like that and you stamp it on your nail, there you can see, you know, a lot of the holographic effect and how cool that looks. And that's actually the original reason that I picked up the entire OMG collection, was that I had read online that it worked really well for stamping. Another finish that does really well is like chrome or metallics. Here I have one of my go-to gold metallics. This is China Glaze Passion from the, I believe this is from the Romantique collection. And their colors from the Chrome collection also work really well. Just going to go again over this bow. And if you don't cover the entire design, as you scrape across, it will fill in the polish. So I'm just going to stamp this kind of right next to the OMG. And you can see, even though that came out a little bit crooked, you know, it really goes on opaque, and you can see the design pretty well. My camera would focus here. I'm still getting kind of a little bit used to this autofocus. For like if you want a metallic silver, one I would recommend is China Glaze Millennium. And I'll just do, maybe I'll do a snowflake with this one, just to give you guys an idea. And with some polishes, you know, if they dry super fast, they might not be the best for Konad stamping, because if it dries while it's on the stamper, then it's not going to want to transfer onto your nail. But you can see that the silver came out really good too. So those are my tips on picking out colors, and don't be afraid to experiment. If you have a color in your collection and you go, I wonder if that will work with Konad, just try it. And if you happen to stamp it on and it doesn't look great, or if you stamp it on and you don't get the whole design, especially if you have a top coat over your base color, just take a Q-tip with some acetone on it and you can wipe the design right off. And start over. You can reposition it, you can try a different color. Whatever the case is, it's only nail polish. You can take it off and start over. If necessary, if you create a bald spot, you can even put on another coat of color, wait for that to dry, and Konad on top of it. One other thing I wanted to touch on is stamping in multiple colors. Like, let's just say, for instance, with this little flower design here, maybe I want the flower to be white and I want the stem to be green. I meant to plan for a little bit of a neater transition there, but what I was going to say is, if you want to do two colors on a stamp, like say with this flower here, say I wanted to make the flower white and the stem green, just be very neat as you place your polish. I'm just going to put the white over the flower, and then with the green, I'm going to cover the rest of the design. I'm going to scrape so that they don't mix together, and then pick it up on the stamper. And you can see there that the flower is white and the stem is green. So, as neat as you can be, you can, add 2 or even 3 different colors to a design. I'm sure there are others than flowers that you might want to do in more than one color. And if you happen to like that design, this is plate S1. Another thing is, if you see a design that you only want part of, there are 2 different ways to go about that. Like in the middle of this one, there are a couple hearts and it says lovely. If you want to, just like if you were doing 2 colors, just cover part of the design with the nail polish and go ahead and scrape, stamp, and there you have picked up just the hearts. Another method that gets you the same result would be if you were to cover the whole design with polish and scrape, stamp, then go in with a Q-tip and just carefully take off the part that you don't want. And of course, you have to be really quick if you're doing that so that the polish doesn't dry too fast. But once you get into it, it's not as hard as it may seem. So the next thing that I just wanted to discuss is getting your designs on so that they're even. And I'm just going to pick this kind of trellis flower design here. It's got an angle to it. And as I talk through this, I may have to do it a couple times. Once you get it scraped and it's on the stamper, you want to kind of line it up with your nail. I mean, as you hold it next to your nail, kind of just visualize where it's going to go on your nail. If you want the shorter part of the design at the base of your nail, obviously you need to put it at the base of your nail. If you turn it this way, it's not going to go where you want it. So you just have to be really conscious of the fact that you have the control, and getting it exactly perfect each time is just going to be a matter of practice. But if you just kind of eyeball it and line it up, then you'll start to find it being easier. So that one I've waited too long is obviously dry. I'm just going to clean that off, and I'm just going to do a couple nails in kind of rapid succession to show you guys how I would normally do this if I were doing it for a manicure. Just get the polish on there, scrape. If you don't clean it off entirely, don't be afraid to scrape twice. Line it up where you want it. Roll the design on. There you can see that the short section is by my cuticle and the long section is going up the side. So just make sure to clean your stamper. You don't want any of that residue going on your next nail. Go ahead and clean off the image plate. And that's part of the reason I like the Q-tips, is they're easy to just grab and work with. Go ahead and scrape, stamp, line it up, roll it on. There you can see those nails are placed pretty identically. So, I mean, once you get used to it, I would say less than 10 minutes to Konad both hands. And I use the term Konad pretty loosely. I mean, I'm as likely to say Konad if I'm using a bundle monster or a stamper from the Born Pretty store. You know, Konad's kind of like Kleenex. It's the name brand that's come to describe the tool. There are tons of generic or off-brand stamping sets out there. Not all necessarily created equal, but I enjoy all the ones that I have. A lot of them are a lot cheaper than the brand name Konad, and so definitely worth your while to, you know, look around and see basically what has the designs that you're interested in. So I hope that helps you guys out as far as with these little small accent designs. I am going to try and get up the tutorials for the French tip designs and the full nail designs with my little tips for working with each of those. And of course, like I said before, if you have any questions or any tips of your own, feel free to post a comment. And as always, thanks for watching.